Hello and welcome to my Imperfect Knitting Life. This is episode 25. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer, and if this is your first time, I am a podcaster that lives in New Zealand, and I love knitting. I love all sorts of crafting actually, but the podcast is about knitting and the mini commercial spinning mill that I bought a couple of years ago. So each episode has sort of carried you along this little journey where I have progressed from owning a mill to learning how to use a mill to producing yarns, and now becoming a little bit more creative with the types of yarns that I produce, and I'm also beginning to sell my yarns. So I'm going to start off in my usual fashion with my knitting and get straight into it. So here we go. Now what I'm wearing, I don't even know if I've actually ever shown this, but it is a Flax by Tin Can Knits. So I may have talked about it in an earlier podcast, but I'm not sure because I wasn't, well, at the time I wasn't too happy with it, but now I actually quite like it. There are a couple of, as per usual, mistakes, but generally I actually really like this. This is one of the first yarns that I knit, so it's pretty solid, and this is actually a fabulous pattern, especially if you're a learner, because you can download the Tin Can Knits app and it talks you through each of the processes to get a finished garment in a top-down way. And this is a lovely basic pattern. It goes from kid size all the way up to adults. It's a very inclusive pattern. So I did change it a little bit because I liked the slight balloon sleeve, and I did that. Just basically did some gathering in at the cuffs. The one thing I did, and this is my mistake, was I didn't leave enough length of yarn when I was doing my bind off, which is an Italian, oops, I'll stand back, but it's an Italian bind off, and look, I had to join the yarn, which I did, but when I finished it, that little knot, which I thought was meant to be a never come undone knot, did. So I have a little knot in the most obvious place, and I'm going to try and find out or work out or get someone to help me redo that so that it's not so obvious. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I would wear this definitely around the house and on the property, in the mill, and I don't care about the knot. So yeah, and if I had a jacket on, well, you wouldn't even see it anyway because I probably have that zipped up. But it is very warm. I can feel it against my skin, especially as I am warm. I'm by the fire at the moment, but it's not super itchy. It's quite comfy. I can see hairs in there. There's definitely some alpaca, but it is definitely quite a heavy yarn. I can't even remember what needle size I used, but you know, this is last year at least. So the second finished object, or not what I'm wearing, but the first finished object I want to show you, I hadn't even started at the last podcast because I had been planning on doing one before Woolfest, and I did actually tape one, but I just couldn't edit it in a way that I was happy with it, so that one has gone out the window, and now I've started all over again. So at that point I had started or decided I wanted to make something that showcased or used up lots of bits of my yarn, and I remembered seeing Amanda from Junction Fibre Mill. She had made herself a Nightshift Shawl by Andrea Mowry using some of the yarns that they use. Now obviously their yarns are generally much more variegated because their making tracks has got a lot of different things, like Spin Cycle, which is the yarn that Andrea does recommend. And I didn't have lots with different, like Spin Cycle, but I really did want to give it a go with my own yarns. And so, without any further ado, I'm going to show you what I made. I'm actually really, really happy with that. So you start off obviously with a few stitches, and you're doing an I-cord edge both sides, and then on the right side, or you are increasing by 1 stitch, and then you just incorporate your pattern, which is basically a mosaic stitch, which is lovely. It gives you a gorgeous, I think, a lovely fabric. And so you are always only knitting a row in one particular color, slipping the other one, and sometimes you're knitting and slipping 1 stitch, and other times you're knitting 2, slipping 2. So that's super highly recommended pattern. And for me, it's like a little library of some of the yarns that I've made. Now that total amount, which I don't think the wingspan is as big as hers, because it's meant to be 63, is it 63 inches? I think that's meant to be like 1.5 meters. So that for me is a meter, so it can't be far off that. Maybe that is 1.5. I haven't blocked it yet, so maybe it will change a little bit when it's blocked. It is quite wearable. Like if I wanted to put it under a jacket and keep warm, I could put it that way. But I mean, sometimes I just sit there and for the cozy snugness of it, I'll pop it around my shoulders. Now that is 400. It was literally just over 400 grams to do that shawl. And quite frankly, you know, I started off following the pattern. Well, no, I got the stitches from the pattern, but I didn't stick to it because I basically winged it depending on how much of each yarn I had. And I've used, she uses 5 different kinds of yarn. Well, I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably about 9 or 10 different kinds of yarns. And it's still only, it totaled 400. So hers, I think she recommended 5 or 6, and that would have made it 250 or 300 grams, which I just don't even know how she did it in that small amount to get such a big shawl. But look, really such a nice pattern to do. You know, and of course it is, because thousands of people have done this pattern. But for me, it is a little library of the different kinds of yarns that I've got. And I did wonder, like, you know, I have got so much yarn where there's 1 or 2 balls of a particular color or whatever because the rest is sold out, or it's when I was first doing the yarn, and so to me it's not 100% perfect, but it actually knits up beautifully, and you wouldn't even know that it wasn't perfect yarn when it's knitted up. I feel like it's just got character and texture to it. So I was wondering, so look here, when I went to Woolfest, I had a couple of boxes of this, and you'd be amazed how much of that went. I had to keep popping new ones in there. But you know, I called this mix and match because you can pretty much mix and match what you want. And I wondered about putting together some mix and match to make the Nightshift Shawl, if anybody was interested in that. If you are interested, you can message me, and I can try and set up something in a colour palette that you like, or I could just put some colour palettes together, maybe put them onto the website so that people can have a look at. But I definitely think it's a lovely, easy, in front of the TV or fire or whatever, relaxing knit. So highly recommend that one. So yeah, so that's the Nightshift Shawl. The other thing I want to show you was, prior to the Woolfest, one of my subscribers, Callie, offered to do, well, I actually asked her, didn't offer, I asked her, I said, would you mind doing a test knit? And she said, oh, I'd love to. So I sent her some yarn and in different colors, and she did the Nordic Bloom for me, and I want to show you that. I wonder if I should take my, wait a minute, I'm going to just take my top off and show you what it looks like. Right, here we go. So I don't really think I've got the right shirt for it, but this is the Nordic Bloom, and she's used a green, which we've actually, I let her have the last bit of it, and she used some of that for me as well. A beautiful green, and she decided to use, let me have a look, that one, raspberry peach sorbet. So she's used that as the contrast. And so it's a lovely top. It's by Caitlin Hunter, and it's a bottom-up construction, and it's inspired by the Nordic blooms that you get in a lot of art in Scandinavia or Norway or wherever. And so it's knitted with a steek at the front, and it's got Kitchener stitch shoulders. This is such a sweet little feature. So look at the buttons that Colleen put on. These little wooden buttons, they're lovely. But inside is boop, something to cover the steeking. That's very cute. What do you think? So that is 345 grams. So obviously just over 2 balls, I think, of the main colour and 1 of the contrast colour. And I'm thinking of giving it a go, but I'm going to do it in a cream and a sort of purple. So the purple that I made, have I got it here? Goodness me. I'm going to have to go off and get that. I made this beautiful colour called Hyacinth, and it's so soft. I'm just going to grab it for you. Here it is. So I think I'm going to do it in a creamish colour and a purple. And the Hyacinth is crossbreed, Polworth, alpaca and bunny. And that's a nice chunky yarn. It'll be perfect for the Nordic Bloom. So the flowers will be in the purple, and the background will be in a, probably I think the latte, because I've got the chunky latte. And those two I think will go really well together. And from what she told me, it was a quick knit, so I'm going to give that one a go soon. So those are the completed things. Oh, that's a lie. I have 2 more completed little objects, and that was, I made 2 little hats, and I'm not going to try them on because you know why? I've already given myself hat head trying them on a little bit earlier. I haven't blocked them yet, but this is a pattern called Callie, and that is made by or designed by somebody called Dechief. I got it, it's a free pattern on Ravelry as a PDF download. So I made this blue one first. Now I want to talk a little bit about that yarn. So a couple of weeks before Woolfest, Judy and I went through a lot of the yarn that was, well, just, I'm going to say laying around. It just hadn't been used at that point. So it wasn't yarn, it was lots of different fleece. Some of it was quite silky, and so I spun that up and then I applied that, and I think there's a reasonable amount of silk in this yarn, and it's quite chunky. I haven't washed it yet, so I'm going to be keen to see how that washes up, but it's made a lovely little hat, which I think I'm going to give to somebody in the family if they want it. And so I haven't got a name for that. It's just, I've got a whole load of different ones that came from that time, and I just made up bundles of yarn. I mean, I could pick out, if I went out there, I could pick out loads of different bundles. I'm not going to go there and get that. And so what I think I'm going to do is put those up as individual skeins, and it'll be the whole skein. It's like a bundle. That was something else that was quite popular at Woolfest, was I did these, what I called kind of mixed plies. So things that were left on the spools, I plied them up, and then they were in a basket, and quite a few of those went too. So I think some people like things that are a little bit different and individual, and I think that kind of fits the bill for them. Like this one here, that's a very similar, it's not the same, but it's very similar, and it was done around the time that I did this. So it is quite chunky, but I think that would make a beautiful vest. And there is 350 grams in that. Might even make a small person an actual jumper. And it would be a quick knit because you'd be doing it on big needles, but it is a lovely, solid, and quite soft. The problem when you say soft now is people are expecting like bloody mohair or something like that, and it's not going to be like mohair, but it's certainly not scratchy like some yarns can be, and some yarns that I remember from my youth. So I say it's soft. By that I mean it's not super scratchy, but it's such a subjective description of wool that I'm kind of loath to say it. But anyway, so this one here, same one, but I also did less of the second repeat of the pattern, because when I tried the first one, it literally went, you know, right down over my eyes just about. So I made it a little bit smaller, or shorter I should say, and then I did the crown after that. And this one fits me a lot better. It is certainly not my colour. You know, when you're old and grey, wearing grey is probably not the best thing to do. So if that had been a blue or a purple, I suppose it would have, you know, suited me a lot better. But you know what? It uses up lots of little bits. So when I go to the next show as well, I'll see if I'm allowed to print, because it's a free pattern. I might be allowed to print some of those off and make little hat kits. And this used 60 grams and that one used 80 grams. And that makes a great little present for somebody in the winter. And it's such a nice little pattern. And it's free. So that definitely 100% is all the knitting that is completed by myself or Colleen. The next thing I want to talk about, okay, so that really is the end of the knitting. What I've got is, Judy sent me a message and she said to me, why don't we do this make along, which is basically that you make something, I think it's from 1st of June and it goes on till the end of August, but it's a garment made with New Zealand yarn designed by a New Zealand designer. And straight away I thought about, well, two people. So one was Truly Myrtle and the other one is Black Cat Knitting Company. And so I've had a look through the patterns and I've decided that what I'd like to do is oh, sorry, that was silly. That's, oops. Calypso Worsted by Black Cat Knitting. I mean, I love those colours. So the colour work is in a spin cycle and I don't have spin cycle and I want to use my own yarn. So what I've decided to do, let me show you the colours, is I have that one, where's it gone? Goodness me. Oh, I'm standing on it. That's not very good, is it? So if you look at these three colorways, I think I'm going to do the color work at the top in those three colors, probably starting with that and then going on to that. These are just gorgeously soft. So this is 100% Corriedale. It's dyed in the roving and then spun. And honestly, within this batch, there was some more pinky colours, some sort of rusty colours. It's 100% Corriedale, and it's just gorgeous. And this here is actually crossbreed, alpaca, and bunny. And I dyed that after it was spun. And it's lovely, lovely and soft. This is also, this one's called turmeric tea. What did I call this one? Tutti Frutti. There's none left. Somebody bought a few of these and then there were 3 left and I've claimed them for my outfit. But you know what? I'm going to try and replicate this. So it won't be exactly the same, but it'll be similar. So if anyone's interested in that, let me know. And this is another one I just loved. So there's only 3 of these left and I might be using one of them. And I called that one turmeric tea. Just love it. And that is sheep, alpaca and bunny, and soft, lovely and soft. Now those are the colors for the color work side of it. And for the body, I've got 2 choices really. I can, one of those 2 colors. So that's a very off light color. That's a mid gray, I've called it. It's a crossbreed, that one. I have an inkling that's got a bit of Gotland in, but I can't remember. I think it's got Gotland, that's why it's grey, because this is a natural colour. And then this is the alpaca and, no, Romney alpaca and bunny. That one. It's lovely. And so let me show you with these 3 colours and the lighter colour. I think I'm going to go this one. Because I can't wear that next to my skin, but actually I could wear it quite easily. Like that. Or let's put it the other way around. Like that. Definitely could wear it like that. So yeah, and I'm just wondering if there's just not enough contrast with the mid-grey, although it's warmer. Like, I don't really know that it makes a lot of difference. I'm just not sure. I'll have to have a little think about that. Might have a little poll. Anyway, just love them. Look at it. Gorgeous. Love those colours. So that is a work in progress. Oh, not a work in progress, a planned work. What was the other thing I was thinking of doing? So yeah, I'm going to do the Nordic Bloom and I'm going to do the Calypso. I think that the Nordic Bloom will be a lovely quick knit. And I might even with that experiment with some of my chunky yarns. I have a basket of it. I should actually show a picture of the basket at the end, and yeah, it's lovely. I just love all, you know, when you look up closely, just look at all the different colors in there. So cool. And that is a one unique skein of yarn. All right, so Woolfest. I really want to talk to you about Woolfest. It really was a major milestone for me, and the build up was, well, nail biting a few months ago, but as we got closer I felt like I was getting a little bit more organized, and I kind of got into a little swing of making some good yarn and doing a bit of dyeing, getting a bit ready. And I decided that week before Woolfest I was not going to have a mad dash of trying to get stuff through the mill, and said Wednesday would be my last day in the mill, and then I would spend Thursday, Friday getting ready. And then on Tuesday, I was doing an experiment, which I'm going to tell you about. And I thought, oh, it's either going to be a happy experiment or it's going to be a damn disaster. Well, it didn't even get to that, because what happened was it was 40% mohair, and then well, the rest was sheep, nice soft sheep. But I think the weather was just too good, and I could notice a lot of static. Now, that might have been the weather, but then I was thinking maybe it's the mohair, because I just couldn't understand why it was misbehaving so badly. When I was trying to put it through the pin drafter, it kept breaking. It was just terrible. So I got to a point where I said, do you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not getting myself stressed before Woolfest. And I just downed tools and I walked out, and I didn't go back to do any milling until after Woolfest was done. And but I did go back afterwards, and what I basically done was I coloured a lot of fleece in completely different colours. I mixed it with some mohair, and then I sort of try to do a mix and match. So, you know, I don't want to do spin cycle, that's their thing, but I really want to create a way of getting colours mixed or contrasted that is attractive, and that's something I can do at the pin drafter as opposed to at the carder or afterwards. So it's kind of this intermediate way of changing the way the yarn looks at the end, and it will make a very individual skein of yarn. I honestly don't think that 2 skeins will be the same, and so somebody using it would have to really think about that when they're creating whatever garment that they are wanting to wear. So I'm going to grab some of that and show you. And this is all. I had a kind of bright pink, a purple, a mustard, a blue, and from that I created a whole, well, a few different, come on Denny, let me get them out. Oh yeah, here they are. That's them. That's that one. Okay, where is the other one? That one. I'm missing my favorite one. I need to find my favorite one. Just hang on a sec. I'm coming back. I'm back. So by mixing and matching in the pin drafter, I was able to produce, I mean, just playing around, applying differently or pin drafting a bunch of colors together, all these different kinds of skeins. I mean, that's an absolute, you know, that's quite an obviously mild, but if you look at that one strand, can you see there's lots of colors in that one strand, and then it's plied with a green? That is very effective. So this again, it's, you can see the multicolors, but that's also ended up with a paler green. And this is honestly the same batch. Look at this one. So there's a lot of blue on the one end, but can you see that? All those multicolors in there. It's a pretty special skein of yarn, that. I'm not sure where I'm gonna use that. I mean, I could even try and have a go at doing that in that worsted, Calypso worsted, if I wanted to. And then of course this is a very obvious, they call this mild, I would call it barber pole, but I suppose it's mild as well, but that's very obvious. So, you know, what I'm planning on doing is actually just playing with colors and playing with the pin drafter and just seeing what comes out the other end. And what it takes is a lot of time, an investment of time, and when you don't have the deadline of Woolfest, it's going to be a lot easier for me to sit and just be creative and play and see what comes out of that. And then I'm going to offer individual skeins online, and you know, these would also be really nice, I think, in the Nightshift Shawl. At the moment they're a little chunky. I'm sure I could get them down a little bit thinner, but you know, with something like the Nightshift Shawl, you don't have to stick to their needle size or their yarn size. You just make the fabric feel the way it needs to with the needle that you want to use. But I could do them in bundles, or I could sell them separately and people could make their own. Yeah, I'm getting really hot in here because the heater's on and I've shut the doors to try and keep it nice and quiet. It's so hot. Little Red's over there by the wall and she is out to the count, hot, trying to keep cool against the wall. Poor thing. And because when I'm where I was before, I can't be in there if it's a sunny day because it just literally blinds me, and the one time I was like trying to avoid the camera and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I digress again. Let's get on to Woolfest. So had the last day in the mill and then 2 days of prepping, and honestly it takes quite a bit to make the yarn, but it also takes a lot of effort and a lot of different fiddly bits to get the yarn ready for sale. And I have learnt, because I've got these, I'm going to show you these. I love these little cards, and I actually got 1,000 of them, and now I am really regretting it. So I'll use it on things like this, but on my skeins, this is so much quicker than trying to attach this. Okay, so I think I will just have to get a whole lot of these made up or print them off myself, because, well, it's very time consuming, and yeah, so that's what I'm going to do there. So we spent Thursday and Friday, actually was mostly my sister Millie and a friend Katinka. They labelled and priced the yarns for me, and then I spent some time down in the mill actually doing some dyeing and deciding how the yarns were going to go on the show stands and just mentally preparing. So it was really good to have that help, and I just so appreciate it. You realize, you know, you need a team, you need a tribe to help you get through some of these things. It's fine getting in the mill on my own and just doing my thing, but actually getting out to the public, it does require support, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So by Friday 4:30, I had packed everything into the, or Millie and I had packed everything into the trailer. We were ready to go. And I sent Millie, I said, go home and relax. And we had to be out of the door at 5 in the morning and on the road. So Millie and Judy and Roger and I hopped into the car and zipped off at 5 in the morning. It was dark, obviously, because it's winter, and arrived at 8 o'clock and set everything up, and we were ready, but way before 10 o'clock. Now, I should have used that opportunity to have a look around and look at everything, because once the doors opened, it was just loads of people coming through. I don't even know how many people went through. I'd be interested to find out what the actual number was, but I was constantly talking and meeting people, sold a lot of product, explained what we do. Millie was the biggest advocate, actually, just explaining that I don't just dye the yarn, I make the yarn and source the fleeces, and this is my mill. And she really explained everything so well to people, and handing out cards that had the Little Mill website on and my YouTube channel and all that. And I also want to say big thank you to all the people that came to say hello. It was very weird having people come up and talk to me, oh hi, how are you? And I'm like, oh hello, we watch your podcast, and they feel like they know me, and that's lovely. I just need to find a way to get to know you guys all a little bit better, because 2 minutes at the shows isn't a great way to get to know people. I must say, with some of my customers, I have a lot of interaction with them, and they show me what they're making, and we talk about stuff quite a bit. I give them a little bit of advice about the yarn, so it is good to get to know people. It's a great little community. So I didn't actually get to take a video of Woolfest. Bad me. Next year I'm taking a teenager, and I'm going to get them to go around and take a video. But I did see a fabulous one on Instagram, and I asked that woman if I could use it in my podcast, and she said yes, but somehow Instagram didn't let her download her own video to send her reel to send to me. But I am going to copy is it called a URL? I don't know. I'm going to copy the little link thing and put it in the notes, so if you want to, you can have a look at it. If you even just search Woolfest, I'm sure that there are quite a few very good videos around. But like I say, I really regret one thing, and that was not taking half an hour out to really look at all the stalls. But I had a great look at what people were wearing, what people had made. There were some fabulous food stalls. There were loads and loads of spinners sitting in the middle spinning. I also gave some yarn away as a gift, and the person that won that came back and thanked me for it, which was really just such a nice thing to do, and was already thinking about what she might do with the yarn. I gave her a plain yarn with a mohair, because I thought she could make, I don't know, a little shawl or a cowl or a scarf or a hat, I don't know, with that. And yeah, so I'm hoping that she sends me a pic, she said she will, to show me what she's made out of that. Yeah, so that was Woolfest. I so grateful to all the organisers, because what a job they do. It's so helpful trying to get your things in and out, set up, all of the food stuff that went on. I had a fabulous little spot there, and yeah, just so very, very grateful. Thank you so much. What else about Woolfest? I had a yummy calamari kind of deep fried thing that was delicious. Oh yes, I must tell you this one thing. So Roger came, he said he's going to do some product research, so he went off to go and have a look at everything. And for somebody who really hasn't been to anything like that before, he was blown away by how many people were there, the sort of breadth the width, the sort of variety of products and crafts available, what people were selling, just, you know, the kind of dyeing that was going on. He just came back. I mean, afterwards he was just raving about it. And I was talking to somebody that was wanting to pick some wool, and then I kind of looked over at him, and he was standing a few feet away, and he was looking at me, and I could tell he had a little tear in his eye. And afterwards I said to him, I said, were you like feeling emotional? He said, I was. He was feeling really emotional because he said, I was so proud of you, and you were in your element, and you were having such a good time. And I was having a good time, but I would not have been able to get there without Roger at my back, without my family at my back, my friends at my back, you know, you as a community just giving me support when I doubted myself. So I feel a bit emotional now, but, you know, thank you so much. Yeah, Woolfest is done. So I'm going to show you a couple of other things. Oh, I had these, you know, I had these baskets, and it's really interesting because you have a lot of young people coming and they want something a little different. And so I had these baskets where it was all the ends, and these things are what gave me the idea of trying to do play with the roving and colors and stuff. So here's one of them. You know, I had lots of these, and I sold, honestly, I sold quite a few of these. What I thought, I mean, my backfall is always, oh, well, I could probably weave with that. But, you know, they had lots of plans to knit things and do things. And so that's like one of them. I can't even get them all out, but there's all sorts. So I also made, I showed you the Tutti Frutti. I showed you, this is some yarn that I dyed up for the Woolfest and sold a few of those. What else did I also dyed up, this is beautiful. This is a lovely one. I haven't even got a name for this, but it's got to be something natural. I mean, everything I name seems to be either after food or plants, because they are two of my interests. And I also decided, because several people asked me over the last few months if I would sell some of the mohair to go with my yarns. And, well, first of all, I didn't have any. And there is a company that imports some, but by the time I've actually bought it, because, you know, they've got to make money on it, and then you buy it and you want to make money on it, it was really getting up to A, either going to be quite a prohibitive price, or B, I would have to sell it at basically what it cost me to do. So I decided I would source some mohair silk myself, and I did that. So there's a company in South Africa that sends it or sells it, and I got hold of them, and within 5 days 2 kilos had arrived. And I didn't really have much time at all to prepare anything for Woolfest, but I will be offering this with some of my yarns, or on the website anyway. So it's 70% silk and 70% mohair, 30% silk, and it's 800 meters per 100 grams. So that a little bit goes a long way. So 100 grams would easily do a cardigan. In fact, probably a very big cardigan. But anyway, I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about dyeing techniques. I have somebody I watch on YouTube. I really like her. Is it Leaves of Autumn or Autumn something or other? She's a Canadian dyer, and yeah, I love it. I also watched a really nice podcast locally by Black Cat Knitting, and she spoke to a dyer that's down near Wellington Way, and she seems to do some beautiful dyeing as well. So I need to learn a lot more about dyeing techniques. But anyway, I digress again. So I did do this. It's pinky. It had a bit of yellow in, but that seems to be a bit lost. So that, if you mix that with the raspberry and peach sorbet, I think those two would go well. You can even mix it really, I reckon, with the coral, and that would also go really nicely. I also think you could probably even mix it with the turmeric tea. I'd love to see what that looks like, because sometimes it just changes the colour so beautifully that you don't even know what's going to happen at the end of it, but always worth a little play. I'll knit a sample of that up, I think, but I've only got 3 of the turmeric tea. I'm going to have to try and make some more. There was another yarn that I made, and I called it ginger nut, and I really thought it was going to come out a lovely yellow colour. I ended up calling it ginger nut because, does that not look like a ginger nut, or kind of spicy? But if you actually look at it in the light, I'm not even sure, can you see there's like a little yellow halo or a yellow edge to it? I can see it even here. But it is so nice and soft, and that's woolen and alpaca, and it's like a heavy double knit or a light worsted. Is that a me colour? I don't even know if that's a me colour. I wish I knew what my colour was, winter, summer, whatever. But yellow ended up this, and that was because I also put a bit of Gotland in there as well as alpaca, and the Gotland was the darker shades, and that completely took over. And I didn't even think I put a lot of Gotland in there. I thought it was maybe 30%, but it went from bright yellow to ginger nut. So there you go. I actually have so many yarns, and I can't even show them to you all. I really can't. Oh, I do want to show you this one though. Look, so that was one I did afterwards. So that is alpaca and Gotland, and it is soft, and I think it's got a little shine to it. I love it, but it is very chunky, this one. 120 meters to 100 grams, so that would even be nice. Like I said, that would be really nice with the Nordic Bloom. Gonna have to play with that. Anyway, so I have put a whole load of yarns back up on the website. I haven't finished yet. I think I need to really think about how I'm going to put up all these individual kind of unique yarns up. Whether I do one listing for each one, or if I do one price, or price per 100 grams, and then just you can pick which one you want on a click down. But I really don't know how that works. I'll have to get my son Patrick to give me a hand with that. Yeah, so that was Woolfest. When we came back, I really was tired. I thought I was going to I was coming down with a sore throat, but that might have just been all the talking and stuff, and it took me a few days to unwind and completely relax, and then I spent a day or two in the mill, and then I was tired again. So yeah, I am learning that when I'm tired I have to listen to that. I'm not 40 years old anymore and a spring chicken. I have to take my time when I need to, and then when the energy comes, zip down into the mill. So thank you for coming along today and spending some time with me. I've spent way more time on this than I wanted to, but yeah, here we go. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye.